welcome back to the Midday Show. I'm Jeff Everett. He is Mark Messina, and we are back here today. We're going to do a little bit of Quizzo, but before we jump into the intellectual questions that Mackey has for us, Mark, the Purple Rain poster is still up, so I'm going to guess that you're feeling pretty good.
I never meant to cause you any sorrow, and I never meant to cause you any pain.
That's
always remember that, Jeffrey. Always remember that.
Is he one of the more quotable? He's one of the more quotable artists. I have a lot of adults. I have a lot of a generation above me that quote Prince quite a bit.
That's a good question. He's I don't know.
Because whenever I think of quotable artists, my brain always goes back to 50s twang, where it's kind of like a guy with a guitar and you kind of quote whatever verse he ripped off his head. But people quote Prince a lot.
He's a genius. I don't know what do you want me to tell you? I mean, you're the one that's I don't get it. Well, I don't know.
I think there's a lot of Princes now, and maybe that's kudos to him. He allowed people to be themselves. And
there are not a lot.
I think there's a lot of people that are themselves and come out and make the music that they want to make.
I think the only obviously Michael Jackson and Prince were kind of the McDonald's, Burger King of that. They were different, but they were the same, but they were both. I'm trying to think, is the only one close since then Bruno Mars?
But see, we're thinking about this differently. I think of when I see Lady Gaga, I immediately compare her to Prince.
That's
almost always. If someone said explain Lady Gaga, the first thing I would do is do you remember Prince? I'd be imagine a female Prince.
She's the white female Prince. That's really good.
I've always related her.
If you came up with that on your own, I give you a lot of credit. If you stole that off a meme, then I'm not impressed.
You always throw me under the bus with stuff.
No, I'm just saying.
I'm just saying. So the point I'm making is, I think Prince is a great influence. I have no doubt that there are artists we wouldn't have if it wasn't for Prince. I feel like there's more people now who can do the things he did. That's all.
I would disagree with that. But
okay.
I think quite possibly, Lady Gaga is iconic. She is great, whatever. There is no higher praise that she has ever gotten than that she is the white female Prince. You can't do a lot better than that if you're a musician.
No, that's how I think of her. I think
that's very good. I like that.
I think it's a fair comparison too.
I think it is too.
I think it's a good one. We're gonna do some Quizzo today. We're gonna bring John Mackey back on. We did okay last week.
Yeah, I think we were 3 out of 5. We were not terrible.
I'll tell you what, it really comes down to whether or not you get the first question. Because if you miss the first question, you can go 4 to 5, but you feel like you were horrific.
It's momentum. You got to get out of the gate with the lead.
Yes, it really is. So bear with me here. I'm going to bring Mackey on. John, can you hear us all right?
I can. How are you guys doing today?
We're good. We're good.
When you said that about we're just trying not to be bad, and when and I'm thinking this because the Cubs just dismantled their team, but when Joe Madden was manager of the Cubs, they were super young, and they knew they had this young crop of talent. They knew they were going to be good, but they thought they were a year or two away or whatever, but it ended up being the year they won the World Series. They won the World Series even before the Cubs thought that they were ready to win the World Series. But he knew he had this young team, that all these expectations, and he didn't want them to be overwhelmed with pressure. So their team motto for the season was try not to suck. And he had T-shirts printed up. And the guy, it had the Cubs logo, and they're wearing these T-shirts under game. And he's just listen, you guys, you don't have to be world, but you're 22, 23. You don't have to be great. Just try not to suck. And they went on to win the World Series. So there you go. That's what we're trying to do here. We're trying not to be stupid.
That's a good goal.
We're working towards it. So the first question is always the most important question because, like I said, you just have to get the ball rolling. We went 3.5 for 5 last week, and I feel like we did miserable.
We felt like losers.
I did because we missed that first question, and you just know you have no chance of winning.
Yeah. And I think if you get that last question right too,
yeah,
even when you're playing
golf. It is like golf. If you have a good 18th hole, you're ready to come back.
Yep.
All right, let's get it rolling.
Well, we got 5 new ones for you today. We're gonna hit you with some literature here. Well, literature.
Oh, Jeff, English major.
We'll see what happens.
All right, your first question. Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep was a 1968 book that was adapted into what 1982 Harrison Ford movie? Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, written by Philip K. Dick, was a 1968 book adapted into what 1982 Harrison Ford movie?
I mean, is the obvious answer just Star Wars, or is 1982? Like, am I aging myself there?
I mean, that was my first thought. Well, Star Wars was 77, so Empire so it would have been later. When was American Graffiti?
I don't know the year.
I'm trying to. The Android part really throws me off because you hear Android and you hear Harrison Ford and you think it has to be some connection with Star Wars, but I think that's too obvious. And the first Star Wars was 77. I think the second one might have been 80. So then you're talking about Jedi, which was probably right around 82, but
yeah, I'm not sure. Can you even think of another Harrison Ford movie, like early 80s Harrison Ford movie?
Yeah, Indiana Jones. But when would Raiders of the Lost Ark have been? But it wouldn't have to do with androids and electric. Now, which
was Tron? Wait, was Harrison Ford in Tron?
I never saw Tron. That's not a terrible idea though.
Because wasn't he in the remake? Wasn't Harrison Ford in the remake of Tron?
I don't know. Tron is a good thought. The only thing now, back to the Star Wars, the
remake. Here's real quick. Here were the remakes. He was in the remake for Tron. He was in obviously he was in the remake for Indiana Jones because he was in Indiana Jones. He was in the remake for Blade Runner. Would Blade Runner have been early 80s?
I don't like Blade Runner's not my genre.
See, the other thing that keeps happening to me is I keep thinking of Kurt Russell movies in the 80s. Like I keep getting Kurt Russell and Harrison Ford swapped.
I don't when you're saying this and when I put androids and sheep, I'm picturing those whatever those big things were in on Star Wars, because I just saw a thing about Star Wars because when they filmed them, they were only like 2 inches tall. But and I think that would have been, wasn't that when they were out on that frozen planet? What was that in Jedi? So
awesome. I would say,
if I had to guess a Star Wars movie, I would guess Return of the Jedi. Okay. And I do know, weren't the Star Wars movies all off book adaptations? But I thought they would have gone with the original titles.
I would say Return of Jedi, Tron, or Blade Runner, but I don't know which one to guess.
I don't either.
The Star Wars ones, I can't imagine they would adapt a book for Star Wars, especially like the third movie.
I thought they were all books, but I could be wrong.
Oh, maybe they are. I would be wrong about that.
Blade Runner. See, I never saw Blade Runner. I don't know. And I never saw Tron. That's not my genre.
Tron, I just don't know the year. Blade Runner was definitely 80s, but I don't know when in the 80s. And I know
John, have we bored you yet?
Yeah. You bored of us yet? Let's go. I
really enjoy the process. I really enjoy listening to you guys figure. I don't get to do this at Quizzo, right? I don't get to see what it's like.
See the inner workings.
People are trying to figure stuff out. This is exactly what happens.
At Quizzo at the table, you always have that one person that they're yelling at. Would you shut up?
We've decided to change the name of the show to Thinking Out Loud.
Yeah.
If you didn't hear about it. I would say I would almost, by process of elimination, I would go Blade Runner only because I know it was an 80s movie and I know for a fact Harrison Ford was in the remake. And so I just don't trust it being like a Star Wars sequel. I don't know when Tron actually was. And every other movie in my head, I'm afraid it's actually Kurt Russell and not actually Harrison Ford.
Well, here, and this is my theory, and I was going to, before you even guessed, I was going to say, let's go with Blade Runner. But this is almost like a word problem in school, that we've shown all our work, and at the end, we still may get like partial credit and a moral victory. So we're going to go with Blade Runner.
Okay.
That's what we're going to settle on?
Yes.
I think so.
Okay. That you guys might have just set a record there for the longest trip to get to the correct answer, which is
Yes.
Blade Runner.
Yes.
Wow, that was impressive.
Jeff, you are all right, buddy.
That was to unpack. A lot to unpack.
Am I crazy for? I constantly get Kurt Russell and Harrison Ford swapped.
Yes,
am I going to get yelled at for that?
Yeah, I don't know how you do that. And I will say,
don't ever say that again.
Jeff Bridges.
Tron was who?
Jeff Bridges was in Tron.
Oh, that's why we didn't go with Tron.
The snow planet on Empire Strikes Back is Hoth.
It was, so the snow planet was an Empire.
What? That was Empire Strikes Back. That was Hoth.
Then I had the wrong one.
And those big machines, collected, kind of fans name them Snow Walkers. AT-ATs were the official name of those vehicles.
See, I just read a little clickbait thing about this yesterday, and they showed the ones in a lot of the filming. They were 2 inches tall, and then they're just the way that Lucas could make them look big.
Yeah.
But anyway, so there we go. 1 for 1.
You're 1 for 1. With that amount of deliberation, I feel like we should be done with trivia, but we're still on the first question. All right, here we go. Question number 2. I'm sure you guys know this, but today is International Beer Day.
Ooh.
Sure.
What is the top-selling import beer in the United States? Today's International Beer Day. What's the top-selling imported beer in the United States?
Well, while Jeff does some thinking, John, I will just talk to you for a moment and let you know that Jeff's family owns a beer distributorship. So if he doesn't get this, he did not pay attention as a child.
We sold it years ago.
Whatever.
It's actually how my parents met. It's actually a really cute story. Top-selling imported beer in the United States.
Do you want my guess?
Go ahead.
From a guy who doesn't drink?
Go ahead.
Corona.
Corona's like, it sounds weird saying it's like a specialty beer, but Corona is not like your walk up to the bar, like go to.
You mean
it's more of like a occasional, like summery, like.
Well, you can't go with you walk up to the beer and get a Coors Light. That doesn't fit because it's not a
imported beer. I understand that. I just like when it's December 3rd, no one's walking up and getting a Corona to watch like the Pittsburgh Steelers.
What's your first guess?
Heineken.
That's not terrible.
I don't know if I'm right, but that would have been my first guess.
I mean, you don't think any of the Canadian. You don't think of Labatt's. That's not.
No, see, this is the other part. Like Budweiser's not owned. I mean, I think they still.
Well, Anheuser-Busch in St. Louis. Yeah, Budweiser doesn't count. That's American. And
technically it's not though. I don't know. I'm assuming they don't import it. I'm assuming it's still made here at Anheuser-Busch, but it's not an American company anymore.
Whatever. That doesn't count.
Okay.
If it does count, that's too tricky of a question that only a politician would bring us.
See, I don't think I'm going to be able to figure it out with that. Just like the more I think, I would guess Heineken, but I'm sure there's a player I'm forgetting.
We're going with Heineken.
If it's Corona, I apologize.
All right. Well, you need to apologize because it's Corona.
Oh my gosh, unreal.
Yeah, by a wide margin, really. It's just way above any other imported beer.
See, I just can't like when I
celebrate by slamming my unsweet.
I just don't like if you walk in somewhere. If you walk in somewhere like during the fall, the winter, like early spring, like I just don't picture walking around a bar and seeing like a couple of Coronas. Like
yeah, but how about Southern California and Texas where it's hot every day?
They're still ordering a Corona in December. I guess you're right.
Well, obviously I'm right, and not only am I right. Not only am I right, I'm right by a wide margin according to our host.
Yes.
Here's my cute story to make myself feel better. So my parents actually met because my mom's family sold the beer distributor to my dad's family. And when my dad started working for the beer distributor, he had to wash off the top of the beer trucks, and he would look over the hedgerow and he would wait to wash the trucks until he knew my mom was going to leave for school. And so he would get to watch my mom walk out and leave to go to school. And then finally he woke up, he, worked up the courage to walk around and ask her out. So that's how the whole family beer distributor thing, cute story.
When I first heard that, like, they sold the beer distributorship and like their daughter, I thought there was some sort of dowry with it. That, like, here, you get my daughter's hand in marriage and a beer distributorship and something along the line. Then we also hear, like, how old was your dad watching your mom go to school? That there's a little creepiness to that. Are they?
No, my dad's younger. My dad's younger.
Ah.
Yeah.
Oh, so a little Mrs. Robinson going on there. Or he's not
by 6 months, by 4 months, 3 months.
You know the Mrs. Robinson? Are you old enough to get that reference?
Probably not. No, you're pretty old.
John and I we'll see. John might not even get it. He's younger than me. But anyway, go ahead.
Graduate. Come on.
Well, I bet that one.
It's all. You've done us all.
All right, what's next?
You guys are 1 for 1. I hit you with some sports here for question 3.
All right.
What pitcher was the highest paid player in Major League Baseball in 1979? What pitcher was the highest paid player in the majors in 1979?
Can I guess? Because Mark's going to give the answer to this. Even if he gets it wrong, I'm going with whatever he says. Nolan Ryan, too late, too early, too far.
No, that's kind of right.
Tom Seaver.
Was Tom Seaver still a Met? I'll tell you, the guy I'm a meet, because in baseball, you kind of have to know this. Free agency showed up in like the late 70s. Okay. So like that's Reggie Jackson was one of the first free agents signed with the Yankees. And so it was who would have been a big name pitcher that had enough time that would have signed as a free agent. And this is going to be crazy. The first guy that comes to my mind is Catfish Hunter, because he was young. He was in Oakland A, and then he signed with the Yankees. And of course, the Yankees were never afraid to pay people. So it would have been somebody who was gobbled up as a free agent and one of the first big free agent signings. And who were the great pitchers? Like Guidry was already a Yankee. I'm trying to think who was winning. Mike Flanagan, did he win the Cy Young in 79? Fernando didn't come till the 80s, but he was a rookie, so he wouldn't have made any money. Mark Fidrich didn't stick around long enough to make any money. Tom Seaver is a good guess because he started out with the Met. When did Tom Seaver went to the Reds? Tom Seaver is a very good guess.
Thank you.
Because Cincinnati had the big red machine, and Cincinnati had money back then too. Because back then, the money disparity wasn't. I mean, Cincinnati and New York are very different, but the money wasn't that different back then. So, the two guesses are
Tom Seaver. Final answer.
Tom Seaver's not a bad guess. If it's not, it's either Tom Seaver or Catfish Hunter. Those are my two.
With Catfish Hunter. Catfish Hunter. No. Catfish Hunter.
No. Tom Seaver.
This is what he's going to do. He's going to double up on me if I'm wrong again. This makes us even if he's wrong. Catfish Hunter, final answer.
Final answer? You guys are incorrect. I believe now.
It's one of those.
Mark, you're going to owe Jeff an apology because it was Nolan Ryan.
Oh
my
gosh.
About $1.2 million in 1979.
With the Angels.
Playing for the Houston Astros.
Oh, that's when he went to Houston.
Wow.
Huh. I did not see that.
I accept your apology.
Wow. Well done. Well, we kind of hit it. We got around it.
You guys kind of canceled each other out on those last two questions.
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
All right. Let's go on to question 4. You will find a wise old singing owl named Big Mama in what Disney movie? You will find a wise old singing owl named Big Mama in what Disney movie?
This is Mark loves Disney, so this is right up his alley.
And you're going to follow up that by saying you know the answer.
Mackey, you know that Mark is like anti-Disney, right?
I'm not stop.
Okay.
I'm not anti-Disney.
He's
That
seen
is
like 2
Scarlett.
Disney movies his whole life.
You guys saw Scarlett Johansson suing Disney, right?
Yes. It was Mark might be the lawyer. I'm pretty
This
sure.
is still, Pirates of the Caribbean was Disney.
Yeah.
Remember the Titans was Disney.
Yes.
Okay. There's 2 that I love right there.
Are we testing my Disney loyalty or are we testing yours? I'm confused right now. Okay. I'm like 95% sure that this is from Fox and the Hound. This was maybe one of the saddest Disney movies ever made. When you think of like the old classic original animated Disney movies, this is pretty sad. But I'm pretty sure Big Mama was the owl up in the tree. There was Todd, there was Copper, a Fox and a Hound. I'm going to say Fox and the Hound Disney movie. Final answer.
And Mark, you're not going to argue with that?
I have no guess.
You have no guess. Well, you would be correct. It is the Fox and the Hound.
Yes.
Thank you. I was like 7, I think.
Well done.
This movie came out.
This will hurt my argument of because I don't mind Disney, but I've never seen the Fox and the Hound.
It's not popular.
It should be one of the top. I mean, it is, as far as Jeff, as you were saying, classic animated Disney movies. It is up there. I mean, it is for me maybe top 2. And a callback to what we were talking about earlier with Blade Runner. The adult Fox was voiced by Kurt Russell.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, adult Todd.
It is sad. Like it is really sad.
Huh. Well, now I'm going to run right out and see it.
It's great.
Nothing to perk up my Tuesday like a little tearjerker from the Fox and the Hound. All right, Mackey, we got one more question before we do. Give your plug.
Yeah, well, yesterday, that was Monday, so we would have been at Boom City. So next week, you want to come to Boom City on Monday at 8 o'clock. Tuesdays, we're at the Rusty Rail in Mifflinburg. That's at 6. Then we come back to Williamsport at 8:30 for the Bullfrog, and we are also out in State College at Otto's Pub and Brewery at 8:30. Wednesdays we're at 505 on Washington Boulevard at 7, and then we're at the Brickyard at 9 o'clock. Thursdays we have Three Beards Brewing Company in Sunbury, Pennsylvania. We have the Town Tavern in Lewisburg, and I think I'm forgetting one.
State College.
I'm forgetting Hall's Landing, 9 p.m. Yeah.
Awesome.
All right, you guys are 2 for 4. Not doing terrible.
It's like the closest. It's like the closest 2 for 4 I've ever seen.
Yeah,
I was going to say this feels like the round of golf where you're hitting the ball really well, but you just can't make a putt, and you should be scoring better than you are. That's
all right. Well, here's your last question for this week. What well-known magazine publisher was responsible for the Hollywood signs restoration in the late 1970s? What well-known magazine publisher was responsible for the Hollywood signs restoration in the late 1970s?
Who was the guy who just passed away? The guy who did Hustler?
Oh, Larry Flynn. My first thought was Hugh Hefner.
It's a good one.
Because with the whole Playboy clubs, and it was in the 70s, and he would probably would there have been another LA guy? Wasn't the Playboy Mansion in LA?
It was definitely West Coast. I don't know specifically where it was, but
I think they had multiples. I know they had multiple Playboy clubs, but I think at the end of the day, he lived in LA. Well-known magazine publisher.
Yeah, those are my 2 guesses. I don't really have I wouldn't know a third magazine publisher during the 1970s.
I can't believe that Mackey would bring us Larry Flynn, because I like Hefner is just a little more socially acceptable than Larry Flynn was. So I think I can't think of. I can't even name another magazine publisher like Reader's Digest and Sports Illustrated and Time and Newsweek and all these. I don't know who the publisher is. Like Hugh Hefner is the only publisher that. Can you,
Mackey, just clear up the Hollywood signs? Are we talking about like the Hollywood sign
or Hollywood sign? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The plural.
I'm going with Hugh Hefner.
I mean, maybe there should have. You're the teacher, Jeff. Should there have been an apostrophe there?
I don't know. It threw me off for a second because they are signs. They're each letter is its own separate sign.
Right.
So the Hollywood sign in itself technically are Hollywood signs. So I just wasn't sure if that's what we were talking about. Yeah, I'm fine with Hefner. I really don't have a guess outside of those two.
So we're going Hugh Hefner. All right. Well, you guys are correct. It's Hugh Hefner.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Do you guys know where he actually founded Playboy magazine? It was not in California.
Was it in Chicago?
It was Chicago, yes.
Look at you.
There's a fact, not to go off on a tangent. There's this fact. I saw a documentary. I saw something about this when they're trying to get it started. And of course, it's what word am I? You know, they're fighting the obscenity laws and they're fighting all this stuff. Back then, there were you could get these pinup girl photos of new girls in calendars, and I don't know why they were allowed, but you were allowed to do it in calendars. And the iconic photo, and you can go Google this, Marilyn Monroe was on the cover of the first Playboy magazine. And it was not a photo that Hefner took. It was a photo that existed that was on some Joe's auto body shop in Illinois when Marilyn Monroe was still kind of nobody. And since then, she had become somebody. So he went to buy the rights for this, and he tracked the dude down, and the guy owned it. And literally, it was almost like the Native American Son of Manhattan for $22. You know, it was just one of these. He went in expecting this huge thing, and the guy thought he was working him over. He's like, how about 300? And I think Hefner had like thousands and thousands of dollars like in this duffel bag in a car waiting. And he's like, the guy said like 300 or 350, and he almost fell out of his chair. And he's like, well, hold on, let me think about it. That's more than I wanted to spend, but okay. And he went back, and that's how it started.
Nice.
So there's a little history. There's a documentary somewhere you can find it.
Yeah. All right.
You guys
Thanks.
did great today. 3 for 5.
Good. I was a good 3 for 5. A solid 3 for 5.
The first one was the most impressive. That was the what was it? Was it Blade Runner? Blade Runner was the most impressive.
One of Daryl Hannah's first big roles in a movie. Yeah.
It is. Did anybody watch the remake? I did not watch the 2049. No, neither did I.
Flash was before Blade Runner, wasn't it?
Flash or Splash?
Flash.
No. Splash came after Blade Runner.
Really? I would not have guessed that.
Yep.
Huh, look at that.
I mean, without looking it up, I have to say Splash was like 80, 85 or 86, if I had to guess without looking it up.
Oh, yeah. Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I would have thought it was way earlier than that.
Yeah.
Huh.
1984.
There you go.
Splash.
I would have missed that. I would have thought it was earlier than that, too. But,
all right.
Oh, wow.
I have to go Google Kurt Russell and Harrison Ford so I can tell them apart.
Yes.
I'll work on that before the next show.
Just remember, Kurt Russell is, I don't know if they're actually married, but he's with Goldie Hawn.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just read something. They just did something. I just read about it. They just made Twitter like yesterday for doing something.
Oh, okay.
They donated money or they gave something. I forget what it was. Him and Goldie Hawn.
Most recently,
they still together?
appeared in those Santa movies on Netflix.
Oh yes,
Mr. and Mrs. Claus. Yeah.
Yes, he has. He and his dad, Kurt Russell and Kurt Russell Sr. I made Mark watch this baseball documentary. It's one of my favorite documentaries called "The Battered Bastards of Baseball," and it's on Netflix. And it's all about how Kurt Russell Jr. played on this semi-pro team in Portland for his dad. And it was the last semi-pro baseball team. Mark watched it, right, Mark?
It's fantastic. If you're a baseball guy, you'll love it.
But even the people outside of baseball, like the names are unbelievable. Like the people that were around this team and the Russells and the Yankee players and the people that ended up around this team. It's a really fascinating story for someone who likes that stuff.
I'll check that out for sure.
Yep. All right. Thanks, Mackey. Appreciate it.
All right. Good job, guys.
Have a good one.
See you next week.
All right, not bad. We did all right
No,
there.
we were close.
That's like for 3 for 5. That was as close to 5 for 5 as you're going to get for going 3 for 5.
We were a very intellectual 3 for 5 right there. There we were.
We were right there. Real quick. Joe says Nolan Ryan signed that $1 million deal on November 19th, 1979. 4 years, $4.5 million. So Mark deserves another point here. So that was interesting. And then Joe also looked up for us. Catfish Hunter was making $640,000 in 1979.
Well, what had happened, and this is the world too, like with each passing year, they made more and more and more. So
Yes.
Catfish probably signed in like 76 or 77.
Right.
And then as they kept going higher and higher, and Nolan had already made 2 stops, and he was a Texan. So for Houston to bring him back home was a big, feather in their cap and all that good stuff. So yeah, that's cool.
Excuse me. Heather guessed the Fox and the Hound right. Fox and the Hound came out in 1981. I think you might have been around for the second release, Jeff. So there was a Fox and the Hound 2. I don't know the exact date that came out, but I remember being young and getting to see it and then seeing the original Fox and the Hound. Kudos to Heather for knowing the Fox.
I never saw that or the remake.
And then Heather knew Blade Runner. Heather knew Corona. Heather might have went 5 for 5 today.
Yeah, you know why? Because Heather's asking Siri every time they ask us a question, and
then some lady named Deb knew Blade Runner too. So yes, that was good. That was I feel pretty good about that.
I'm not like this is
smoked sometimes.
We make a better team than you would think, but like the whole post-apocalyptic genre, I can hardly get through any of them. I know I made
it's one of my favorite genres. I can't believe you don't enjoy any of that.
I can't tell if you're being sarcastic here or not.
No, it's one of my one of my favorite books is The Road by Cormac McCarthy, which is literally a father and a son walking across like desolate America after like society has collapsed. And it's a love story between a father and a son, because it's like, how far will this father go to like protect his son and try to find safety for his son? But the whole thing, to your point, is like, it's this dreary post-apocalyptic. The movie is like very gray and just like very hard to watch. So like, it is sincerely one of my favorite genres. And you have said before, like, you have very little interest in the genre.
So your favorite genre can be described as gray and dreary. What does that say about you?
But, well, no, because that book, and again, like if I ranked my favorite books, that's probably top 5 for me. That whole book is one of the greatest love stories I've ever read. And you and I have talked about it before. I don't need like a man and a woman for it to be a love story. Like there's so many other ways to portray love and to give love across. This father-son relationship as they're going across America, like Cormac McCarthy nails it. And it is like, the father has frustrations and he knows how much easier it would be to accomplish this without having to like drag this 7-year-old behind. And it's like the lengths you will go and the sacrifice you will make to try to make sure your son succeeds or try to make sure that your son makes it. It's a fascinating tale. But to your point, like, yes, there is something about that setting, the post-apocalyptic setting, that lends itself. It kind of just opens up and you can focus just on these raw things, whether it's survival or love or relationships, because the backdrop, once society collapses, what else is there?
Now, I will say, even though I'm not a post-apocalyptic, Zombieland and Zombieland 2 are brilliant.
Sure. I enjoy them.
That's its own form of apocalyptic.
It is.
It's not the taste, it's the texture. Remember that.
That's very, very, very true. So yes, there we go. That was good.
Just stupid little news that have come from the world that we may touch on tomorrow. Some bad news for Governor Cuomo as things are coming out. As we just got, I haven't really been able to delve into it, but I just heard that they said yes, he was. The sexual assault accusations are not fictitious, and that I think the state attorney general and a committee looked into this and found that there is, as they say, where there is smoke, there is often fire.
Sure.
And there was another stupid story I saw, and I cannot remember what it was. Okay. What did I just tell you? Something? Did I tell you it?
I don't think so. I don't know. The other one that I want to touch with you, because I'm sure it'll jolt back into your head here if we start talking. The other one that I want to talk to you about is I sent you the one about dinner table arguments. Did you see that I sent you?
No, the other one before you stick with the whole guy about the NHL, and the guy's wife tweeted that he's betting on hockey and he's betting on his team and against his team. And right when I saw this, I was like, why would his wife be? The guy finally came out and he's like, listen, we're going through a bitter divorce. And I'm like, I'm shocked. So anyway, there's this whole scandal that this wife supposedly had this, my husband's betting against his team. And the guy's like, no, I'm not. We're going through a divorce and I hate her. So anyway, back to your dinner table.
No, those are both good ones we should touch on tomorrow. The other one I sent you was about the dinner table arguments, like splitting families. So like, obviously, like, you know, like people say, like, don't talk about politics at the family table, like things like that. The big one now is vaccines and how like vaccination is like splitting up families and kind of like the Thanksgiving dinner fight, kind of that. So it got me thinking, like, I think a good talking point for us would be like, what are the most divisive conversations at the family dinner table? Because there's some themes, like when you start really thinking about it, there's some common themes, kind of like when I ranked, what was the rankings I did when I was at the beach? I did the things you and your girlfriend shouldn't do to try to revive your relationship.
Yeah,
things couples shouldn't do to try to, the worst things couples can do to revive their relationships. So I think maybe tomorrow or Wednesday, what's today, Tuesday? I think maybe tomorrow or Thursday, I may do like a top five most divisive things people could talk about at the family table. Because there's some, like, if you think about it, there's some very common themes there that, like, depending on which family you are and what you're talking about.
I can imagine, well, just off the top, you've already hit two of them, politics and right now the vaccine.
But that one's new, because that would not have been one. Yes.
One would have to be when you get a big family around, there has to be divorce somewhere. Yes. And somebody ripping on Uncle Joe, who's not here anymore, when some of the, either maybe Uncle Joe's kids are there, or some of the, or his brother's there, or other people who are like, no. Joe wasn't the issue. She was the issue. So that would be, yes, the divorce, the criticizing of the divorce of the people who aren't there to defend themselves, because I'm sure there are people at the table who are willing to defend them. That I'm sure that happens a lot.
I might make the same way I made the list for the couples thing. I might make my list here, and I might see if you agree with me or not, because I think that's a fascinating one.
And the thing that always helps around the extended dinner table and these family meals is the alcohol that flows with it to add fuel to the argumentative fire.
Yeah. Well, one of them I was going to say is like how much somebody ate or like how much somebody drank at the table. That's like one of the you kind of stepped on it there a little bit, but that's like one of the most underrated ones. Like bringing up like how much somebody's had to drink, or bringing up like, is that your second serving or is that your second plate? Like those are like the real subtle ones, the little jabs that, like, you know.
See, I wouldn't have got to that because as a guy, we just make fun of each other about that. Like, dude, you're going to eat the whole bowl of mashed potato? Like, can I have some of those before you? And as a guy, we're just like, nope, I got these. I'll take care of these. And like,
you know what's funny though is at it is like the most subtle, like the most like the 1 line 3 word like subtle. We were like 2 weeks ago, we were in New Jersey at a lake, and I was like putting on my suntan lotion and everything else, and my buddy kind of looked at me and he goes, "You're looking cut." And that was it. He didn't say anything else. That was it. And I just kind of looked back at him, and I just kind of like gave him one of these. And because he said everything in 3 words, like that's all he needed to say.
You know, it's funny you mentioned this. While I watched, and we've talked about Finding Forrester, right? You know the movie Finding Forrester.
Yeah, I love Finding.
Okay, I just watched it again the other day. Mm-hmm. My favorite line in all of Finding Forrester is when Sean Connery points and goes, "I'm that one," and that to me, it just. And you'd have to watch the movie. You have to know the movie. And I'm sure people are going to watch it now for the first time, be like, that's your favorite. I love that line. And it is just so, I'm that.
Yeah. when you can say everything with 3 words, that's, you've done your job. All right. Thank you guys for watching the Midday Show. Thank you to all of our sponsors, and thank you to NorthcentralPa.com. Be sure to go there for all your local news, and we will be back tomorrow.
And the funny thing is, I said so much with just one word today when I said Corona, and you said, no, it's not Corona.
I don't think that was my response.
Heineken.
I don't think that was my response, but if that's how you want to relive it, when the script of our lives are written someday, if that's how you want to write it,
that's how I want to.
I'm mad at you. I'm Jeff Everett. He's Mark Messina, and we will see you guys tomorrow.
Later.